Hello, welcome to today's class. I'm thrilled to have a guest speaker here, my uncle, Fran Doerr. And the reason that I asked him to speak today is because he's done something pretty impressive. 35,000 people a year climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but only 2/3 of them actually make it to the top. My Uncle Fran was one of them. That would have been impressive in itself, but he did it at age 66 years old. And he's agreed to join us today to share a little bit about what that experience was like. Thank you so much, Franny, for coming.
Well, thank you, Venice. Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, what made you start to hike in the first place?
Well, I just happened to take my two sons out west as a graduation present for the oldest ones, and we visited the Grand Tetons National Park, Glacier National Park, and Yellowstone National Park, and it planted the seed for me to continue to visit these beautiful national parks in this country.
And how old are your sons?
Now they're 35 and 30. At the time, they were graduates from college and a junior going into a senior year in high school.
Okay, so you've done some pretty extensive hiking in the national parks in the States.
Yes, I have.
But then you decide to attempt Kilimanjaro. What led to that decision?
Well, it was a progression. While I was hiking in Yosemite National Park, I happened to summit Half Dome, which was 8,800 feet. And then I hiked up to Cloud's Rest, which was 10,000 feet. And this is all on the same trip, Mount Hoffman, which was 11,000 feet. And the final hike of that trip was Mount Dana in the eastern side of the park, and that was 13,000 feet. So it was a matter of just going higher. The following year, I attempted and completed Mount Whitney in Sequoia National Park in California, and that is the highest peak in the lower 48 at 14,520 feet. So on that trip, I happened to meet a woman who was on the trip with us, and she had completed Kilimanjaro. So that was really the first that I heard of. And it seemed to be the next logical in the progression of going higher. And that's really where the interest started.
Okay, well, no one just decides to go to Kilimanjaro and then does the climb. What did you do to prepare?
Well, the preparation, which I also prepared for doing the national park hikes that I do, but I realized that this was another level. So probably 8 months prior to the trip, my friend Jack DeForest, who joined me on the Kilimanjaro trip, planned through Thompson Safaris our trip. And my program was basically start walking and building up hiking to probably 10 to 12 miles at a time. And once I accomplished that, then I started adding weight to a backpack at 2 to 3 pounds at a time over these 8 months to get up to be around 30-pound pack to 33-pound pack. And also I would go to the local high school stadium and I would run the steps at the stadium. And to do a complete loop of the stadium from the visitor side to the home team side was 165 steps up and 165 steps down. And I built that up doing 10 laps, which would be about 1,650 steps. So it was a pretty rigorous training program.
That's pretty impressive. And I think this is a good time to mention that, again, you were 65 years old
correct.
at this time? And had your health been good up until this point?
Fortunately, my health is very good.
Okay, so was there anything that you read before you planned the trip?
I read a couple articles,
One by
basically
Michael Crichton, the one.
Michael Crichton, yes. And also the paperwork that the brochure that the travel company sent us gave us in-depth details of what the hike was going to entail.
So you also spent a lot of time reading a guidebook as well, correct?
Correct, correct.
So how much does something like this cost?
Well, the basic trip itself was $4,500, and that included breakfast and dinner through our trip was actually 10 days in length, and an additional $1,700 for airfare uh, to Tanzania and back round trip. So it worked out to be about $6,500 all said and done with insurance on the flight.
Okay, so this was how many days, the trip?
The total trip was 10 days. The hike itself was 7 days. There was a day up front when we arrived in Tanzania, Arusha, which is referred to as the Geneva of Africa, on Saturday night, and we were taken to the Rain Tree Lodge. Um, we got settled in, and the next day, it was pretty much we had breakfast and then went on a sightseeing tour of Arusha. And when we got back, we met with our guides, and they pretty much explained to us what we were going to experience, what we're going to need to take with us, what type of food, what type of gear that we needed. And they told us that we would be carrying our own day bag, which weighed probably up to 15, maybe 18 pounds. And that the porters that we had, they would carry up to 30 pounds of weight, 26 pounds of gear for additional gear that we wouldn't carry ourselves.
So, and that's one of the reasons why the trip is a decent amount of money, because you've got to pay all those people.
Exactly. There was actually it turned out to be 5 of us on the trip. 4 of us knew each other. And there was a woman from Oklahoma who joined the trip with us. We had 3 official guides, and there were 30 support porters that would carry the gear and set up our camps, cook our meals, purify the water for us, and give us hot water to clean up, and maintain a portable toilet for us as we would travel. So for 5 people, there was 30 porters and guides to support us.
Wow. Well, I think now would be a wonderful time for you to share some of the photos of the trip.
Well, that'd be great, and I would enjoy doing that. So what you're seeing right now is our approach on the first day of the hike, and that is Kilimanjaro in the background. Our approach was the Machambi route, which was, it would start out on the left side of the mountain, and it would climb up to probably 13,000 feet over the course of a couple days. And then we would transverse to the other side of the mountain, basically at that elevation. And we would hike to a base camp over there at 15,000 feet, and for the final summit. I'm going to move on to the next one. This here is the entrance at the Machambi Gate of Kilimanjaro. We were driven to the park. It probably took an hour and a half to get checked in with our passports and our permits and the different types of vaccines that we needed. and we finally, we took off on the trip. It was basically a 6-hour hike the first day. And as you can see, we hiked through some tropical jungle. And these are our guides and some of the porters who set up a table for our first lunch on the trail. As you can see, there's an area, a wash basin set up for washing our hands, and table was set, silverware and plates and cups. It was very nice. They set up a very good table for us. Here we are back on the trail again, heading up, and you can see the density of the forest, the jungle, I should say. Jack the Forest is my buddy. His daughter and her girlfriend are behind him, and I'm behind them taking the picture. This happens to be our reception at the first camp, the Machambi camp. These are all our guides and porters. It was our welcome. One thing I'd have to say about the people of Tanzania, they are very, very happy and friendly people. I'll move on to the next photograph here.
You also mentioned that one of the guys was carrying a weapon.
I think maybe I'll stay here for a little bit. You get to see and enjoy these guys. I'll move on to, so this here is, this is the Rain Trees Lodge to where we stayed at. Everything was thatched roof, open air in the public areas that we stayed at, where we had our meals, and they had a bar there for refreshments. It was very, very nice setting with monkeys in the trees outside moving back and forth. It was really a pleasure and relaxing area. And this again is a common area. This is where we had dinner or breakfast, and you could sit outside if you wanted to. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. And moving on to, this was our liquid refreshment when we were in camp. I happened to enjoy the Kilimanjaro lager, and my friend Jack did the Serengeti. So we helped out with the recycling of some bottles at the bar in the Rain Tree Lodge. And here we are at the Machambi Gate, the 5 of us in the group. Working from left to right is Jack. The woman next to him is Caitlin and Jessica and Lindsay and myself. This is actually the second day on the trail. These are the porters. They're carrying, the weight that they're carrying up this mountain is just unbelievable. And you can see they're loaded up like pack mules. These guys really earn their money. You cannot take it away from them. They are very, very hardworking. And moving up the mountain, you can see that the foliage is getting lower to the ground, probably knee high. We're out of the jungle. You'll see as we get up further how barren it actually gets of foliage. This was our second camp. The 3 tents in the back are what were provided for the 5 of us. And this gentleman with the orange hat, he made sure that we had hot water to wash our hands before we would have breakfast or or dinner. To the far right is our dinner tent. And in the very back, the pointed tent, tall pointed tent, is actually the portable toilet that was maintained for us on the whole trip. Um, very, very sanitary conditions for us. The building in the back at the left was the public toilets, which was pretty daring to experience. This is a shot of us. We're heading up to Lava Point at approximately 15,180 feet. We had lunch up there. The idea with acclimating is to hike high and sleep low. So we spent about an hour and a half up there. We had lunch, and then we headed back down to Barango Camp. Here we are, the five of us with our guides, and that is Lava Tower in the background. This picture here is a very good shot of our breakfast table set up. There was bacon and ham, and probably in the covered stainless steel plate is scrambled eggs, bread, coffee, tea, hot chocolate, whatever you wanted. It's very well done, very well done. And the food was excellent. Here we are coming up onto, I'm pretty sure this is the Barango Camp. I will talk a little bit later, but this is called the Barango, the big sheer mountain behind the camp is the Barango Wall, which we had to, the challenge of climbing that was pretty steep. But you can see the trail is, the vegetation is really thinning out and just different, almost cactus looking like type plants. Here's a shot of Kilimanjaro. We are probably, this would be facing the south. We would be facing we'd be looking north, seeing the south side of the mountain. And this is the group, the morning, and one of the guides. We're probably heading off to now do the Barango Wall, which if you're scared of heights, this is a pretty good challenge. It's hard to see here, but somewhere a little above the middle of the photo on the left-hand side, you'll see some blue dots on the wall. Well, they're actually people on the trail on the Barango Wall. And a couple further shots will really give you some in-depth looks at what the challenge was. Here we are here on the Barango Wall. It was probably from start to finish an hour and a half hike. And at times it was a little scary. And this is getting on top of the Barango Wall. This was, it was nice to get it behind us, but I think there's one more picture that I have of us climbing the wall. Here it is here. So you can see it's a little treacherous to manage to hike this, but we got through it safely. I think of the whole trip, if anything was going to happen, this was probably a place that someone could be injured, but fortunately, we made it through safely. And here we are here. This is we are hiking to a Barafu camp. We're past the Barango Wall, and that's the camp that we're heading to. Unfortunately, we climbed up to about 13,000 feet, and then we hit the ridge line, but then we had to make our way back down into the Carango Valley and then climb back up again to the camp, which is difficult. You gain elevation, but then you lose it going down and have to regain it again. So it was a pretty strenuous day. And here we are down in the valley, and you can see the trail that we have to manage to get back up to the camp. This is a view at nighttime right before sunset. Our 3 tents our dinner tents and the porter's tents in the foreground. This is Barafu Camp. Again, you're looking at the south side of the mountain. There is snow on the mountain, but it's not glaciered. They're just snow fields. The difference between a glacier and a snow field is a glacier is moving. A snow field is stationary. And here's a back shot of the porters carrying up our equipment. You can see that it's a line of porters that stretches pretty far. Again, here, this is what we had just hiked over, and we're heading to the base camp right now. Again, it's just really in the picture are the porters carrying our equipment. This is base camp, 15,331 feet. We had about a 5-mile hike to get here. We got here probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and we were going to do the summit tonight, but they wanted us to get some rest, but the sun was so strong that we couldn't get inside our tents. It was so hot, so we basically just had to sit outside and just chill until dinner time and take it easy and prepare for the ascent. Here's again, it's a picture from the camp looking back on the trail that brought us up to Barafu Camp. And I'll give you a little background. We basically had dinner around 6 o'clock, and after dinner, the guides spoke with us about what we were going to encounter, what to take with us, how to dress. It's basically just how to prepare for the summit. And we started out they woke us up at 11 o'clock at night, and at 12 o'clock we headed out on the trail with headlamps, and probably 6 hours of hiking in the dark, which was difficult. Probably 6 in the morning, the sun finally came up, it was emotionally and physically, it just helped that the sun came up. We had another probably 2 hours to get up to the, it's actually, I think they refer to it as a false summit, which was about 18,888 feet. And we thought that was the end of our hike. Unfortunately, there was another 45-minute hike to Uruhu Point, and that's where we are there at 19,341 feet. We only spent maybe an hour at the peak. After that hike, it was nowhere near enough. We were just able to barely catch our breath, and immediately they turned us around and started heading back down to base camp. And I don't really remember a whole lot about that. It was just, and I mean, they ran us down the mountain. It was amazing. After what we went through to get up there, it probably was another 3.5-hour hike back down to base camp. So it was pretty difficult. So we get back, let me hold it. We get back down to base camp, and they had lunch for us there. And we probably got 2 hours of rest. Again, base camp was 15,180 feet. After a 2-hour rest, we had to head back down to our next camp at 12,500 feet. And this was an extremely difficult part of the hike, because the surface that we were walking was small granular stones. It was almost like walking on ball bearings. you would place your foot and you would slide, and it was like a controlled fall, I guess is the best way to to put it. You had to have your trekking poles out to keep you from from falling down. It was very, very difficult hike. We made it down, and this is the the whole group of us, the 30 porters and the 3 guides as a picture, and we're basically at 12,500 feet. It was unbelievable. It was probably 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had started out 12 o'clock a.m. that same day, and there was very little time to rest for anything. So we had a good dinner and a good night's rest there. And the next day we had to hike back down to probably, I guess it was around 5,700 feet to a campground at the entrance on the east side of the mountain, where we had lunch and they gave our certificates of accomplishment for climbing the mountain. And it was good to be back down and be able to take a good rest and enjoy some Fireball and a couple beers to celebrate the accomplishment.
What a trip of a lifetime. What an amazing journey you've had. Thank you. You can stop sharing your screen now. So was the hike what you expected?
I don't know. I mean, as much as you read about something, to confront the physical challenge is just, it's a big question mark. And this was the biggest physical challenge that I ever encountered. So it was probably more than I had anticipated.
So 77% of the people who climb Kilimanjaro experience some kind of altitude sickness or effects. Did you experience anything like that?
Fortunately, I do not experience any type of altitude sickness. And it doesn't mean that I'm very healthy or that I'm young or old, or it's just your physiological makeup as an individual, how you're affected by it. Fortunately, I'm not affected by it.
You're very lucky. I had the pleasure of not hiking to, but visiting Everest Base Camp, which was also about 19,000 feet.
Correct, yes.
I did experience altitude sickness, which is a headache and nausea. Same thing, I concur. It has nothing to do with age or fitness level, because the gentleman on our trip who experienced the worst altitude sickness was a very young, fit gentleman. So much so that he had to fly home early. So you were able to successfully make this climb. They do recommend, though, with altitude issues, not to drink alcohol. So while you were doing the climb, was there any alcohol?
No, there was nothing like that. I mean, they really push, and again, with altitude sickness, preventative measures are drinking a lot of water and eating good meals to nourish yourself. Jack and I were both in our mid 60s. His daughter and the girlfriend were probably in their 30s, and they both experienced the altitude sickness. So again, it's just a matter of luck of the draw, whether you're affected by it or not.
And everyone in your group made it?
The 3 of us, 5 of us made it, yes.
So in regards to food, did that change as you made your way up the mountain?
No, basically it was the same. It was, protein and as bacon and ham and eggs, and basically it was the same meal. You could have porridge if you wanted, or oatmeal. But basically that food was pretty consistent from the start to the finish.
So what were the two most difficult sections again of the climb?
Uh, I would say, um, I would say heading up in the dark was really difficult. We it, something was rejuvenating when the sun came up. I mean, we were exhausted, but something rejuvenated us to finally get up to the peak. I would say, to be perfectly honest with you, the hardest part of the trip was coming down where the surface was not a solid surface to walk on, where it was all this granular. I guess it was pulverized lava. You just couldn't get good footing, and you were, again, I'll repeat, it was almost like you were in a controlled fall.
Yes, and more people do get injured on climbs on the way back down.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So what advice would you give to someone who was looking to make this climb?
Well, again, I wouldn't do Kilimanjaro as my initial trip. Following sort of what I did, I started out just hiking and backpacking and building up from maybe like 4 or 5 thousand feet, and then once you got to that point, I mean, I made increments of 1,000, 1,500 feet in each adventure, and then it was a big jump to go from Mount Whitney at 14.5 to 19.3. That was a big jump, but the training, just like I had spoke about, build up walking 10 to 12 miles in one trip, and then start with a backpack. Start out light, maybe 7, 8 pounds, maybe an empty backpack, and then just gradually put more weight into it to build up your stamina. And running the steps, core work is really, really important to build up your core, because of the weight you're carrying. You really need a very strong core.
What did you do to build your core up?
I'm a gym member. Uh, uh, Russian twist, legs scissors, sit-ups, crunches, and then I also I at the fitness club I joined in on the spin classes,
Mm,
which was really, really beneficial.
wonderful. So what did your sons think of this?
Fortunately, they refer to me as Franbo, and actually they're following in my footsteps. So they're big hikers and campers, and actually Sean past summer he summited the Half Dome, and we all shared a trip to Zion National Park, and we did Angel's Landing and Observation Point. So now when I plan a trip, it usually has those guys involved. At least an option is out there for them to join.
Lovely. So what was your impression of Africa overall?
Well, I'd have to say I really didn't see that much of Africa itself. Uh, my my time in Arusha, I mean, it's pretty obvious it's third world. You can see, it's the standard of living is difficult. The people struggle. Um, I would have to say the most important thing that I experienced was the people, and how friendly they are, and how hardworking they are. And that to me really impressed me.
So would you return to Africa?
I plan on doing something like that. Carol, who is my significant other, is turning 65, and I would love to take her on safari.
Mhm.
She loved the movie Out of Africa, and to her, sleeping in a tent is it's more like, I should say, camping to her is more a Holiday Inn. So and this company who I did the trip with, Thompson Safari, I would recommend them for the summit to Kilimanjaro, or they have multiple safaris also. And again, the setup is just as nice and as quality.
So what kind of hikes do you plan in the future?
Well, Patagonia in Chile and South America, I would love to do. Again, that would be my sons and their partners would be welcome on that. Jack is talking about doing something at Nepal. There's been talk about that. Also, there's a 5-day hike of the Great Wall of China. So if we ever get out of this COVID situation, we have something ready to go. And followed up to the Kilimanjaro hike, Jack and I we hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu in Peru 2 years ago, in 2020.
That's so impressive. Well, you're an inspiration to me, Franny, and I'm sure you are now an inspiration to my class. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to share your trek with us. It was really, really, really informative and pleasurable. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Venice, for allowing me to share it with you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.